What's going on, Philly sports fans, and welcome back to the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on this beautiful Tuesday, October the 29th, 2024. For all you old heads out there, it is Soap Night. You guys remember Soap Night? The eve before Halloween Eve? I don't know if it was something that we concocted as children in order to just create mischief and kind of run amok around the city streets, but I remember Soap Night very well, and I don't think it's a thing anymore, and I don't think tomorrow night Mischief Night is a thing anymore either. But Soap Night was fun because you literally ran around the neighborhood with bars of soap and soaped up windows, car windows, house windows. We had a lot of fun growing up back in the 80s. So welcome to Soap Night 2024. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. So if it isn't, I'm educating you on what it was like to live in Philadelphia or major cities back in the 80s. And then tomorrow night, of course, being Mischief Night. My little intro is Halloween themed. I'm not actually going to be on the air on Halloween night with this show. I have the Flyers post game, so kind of cashing in on the Halloween festivities tonight and tomorrow night as we get ready to celebrate the holiday. And welcome to the program tonight. We got a lot to get into here on the show tonight. We got a World Series check-in happening right now. A really good game that's going on in the Bronx. 6-4 right now. I think that's what the score is. It's last time I checked. Yeah, 6-4 as they're getting as they are in the top of the seventh, or maybe heading into the bottom of the seventh right now. Dodgers and Yankees. Yankees trying to stem off elimination. And the Yankees, Yankees trying not to get eliminated in 4 straight. Freddie Freeman with a 2-run home run in this game, his 6th consecutive World Series home run. Amazing, an absolute amazing feat dating back to his 2019 season with the not 1921, his final year as a Brave, and then getting into this season, he's hit 4 home runs. He's hit a home run in every single World Series game so far in this series. Obviously, kind of without a epic Dodger meltdown and not winning the World Series, Freddie Freeman's got to be your hands down MVP candidate. But they also had a grand slam in this game. I believe it was Volpe for the Yankees, who are, to their credit, not going away quietly. A grand slam tonight. The MLB record-setting 6th grand slam of this postseason. 6 grand slams in the 2024 postseason. Was not aware of that. So all kinds of records being set tonight here in the World Series. We're going to check in on that game a little bit later. We got your night in Philadelphia sports history because we have our own World Series remembering to do on this night here on the program. We're going to maybe talk a little bit about Eagles-Bengals. Maybe I don't think we're going to get into Eagle-Bengals. We might glance over the Jags and Eagles. But the main story tonight is the Flyers with a huge 2-0 win out there in Boston. And a place they haven't won in years in regulation. But tonight, they not only did they win in regulation, but they shut their asses out. And I want to get into why I think this might be a huge win, a potential turnaround win, a win that you can definitely build upon for this young team as they try to right the ship in 24-25. We're also going to talk about some we're not going to do a prospect of the night tonight. We did one last night, and we will do our card review. So we're coming on a little bit later tonight due to the fact that we had to get ready or get through the Flyers post game, but Sal did a great job. So I hope you enjoyed Clear the Ice. If you did not enjoy Clear the Ice, go back and check it out. It is available on our YouTube. But with that being said, of course, for all you people out there who want to help and support us, down there, right there, It's a Wrap Sports Network, our YouTube platform. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend, have a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend to keep us on the air and pumping out this great content as we are growing this network from literally the ground up. I cannot really emphasize more the fact that we are growing this thing from the ground up. Did I mention we're growing it from the ground up? I mean, a snake has a higher vantage point right now than the It's a Wrap Sports Network because we are literally in our infancy. We're not even a month old, but we're gonna be here. As I told you this when I came on the air was this my 15th episode of this show? So I launched the network back on October 7th. What happened to me at the last network I was working at will never happen to me again. because now I'm taking my fate into my own hands, and this will never end. I will be on this thing doing this thing till they're shoveling dirt over my face. It is never going to end, and I don't care if I'm talking by myself to myself. Doesn't matter to me, but I much prefer to talk to you. So please like and subscribe us on all of our social media platforms, as we're trying to get to certain points where we can be free and streaming everywhere. And right now we're limited because of likes and strength of our social media. So please go ahead and like and subscribe as we are trying to build from the ground up. Big Al checking in saying very festive. Oh, thank you, Al. I think you're referring to my little intro there. Yeah, I might have violated some copyright things. I don't know. It didn't sound like AC/DC, so I don't think it is them. It was. I found it on a free audio site. But yeah, we're going to cash in on the Halloween things tonight and tomorrow night, because I will not be doing the show on Halloween. I will be on the Flyers post game. So got to cash in. Halloween is my favorite holiday. It has always been my favorite holiday growing up. It's been my favorite holiday as a father of young children, getting the opportunity to take them trick or treating. All the lead up to Halloween. It's just, to me, autumn's my favorite time of the year, and it's a shame that. I mean, I guess it's not a shame, but it's a shame. It's bittersweet, and I've always said it's bittersweet because I'm a big fan of the summer. And when you're in the autumn, that means obviously the summer's over, and you're looking ahead to the long, cold, hard winter before it all kind of turns around again. So, but it is my favorite time of the year, and as I said here on the show, we're going to kind of cash in on it as much as we can. So, bear with me on that. Big Flyers win tonight, Al and Didi. It was a big Flyers win, but we are going to start this show off tonight, and we'll get to the Flyers here momentarily. We got to start it off with your night in Philadelphia sports history, because if there was not a bigger day on this than this day in Philadelphia sports history, it's probably the one that happened in 1980. But on this night in 2008, of course, shot heard around the world, or I should say, the fake throw to third, go to home shot heard around the world, as Game 5 of the 2008 World Series finally concluded. After that wonky with the weather, getting the game canceled or suspended there in the 7th inning, waiting 2 days in order to replay it on a very frigid night in South Philadelphia. But on this night, Brad Lidge and company delivered the Phillies' second ever World Series championship in their franchise history. I, of course, will not forget where I was, nor will anybody else who was there who remembers this night. I was not celebrating in a bar in Northeast Philly. I was not celebrating at my home in parts unknown. I was not with friends. I was not with family. I was not wearing Phillies gear. No, I was actually sitting in an office in Baghdad, Iraq at about 5 o'clock in the morning, watching Game 5 over the Armed Forces Network that was streaming out of Germany. And I remember in a dark office all by myself, staring into my computer, watching the Phillies clinch and celebrating by myself, obviously. But it does not lower it did not lessen the feel that I had when Brad Lidge struck out. Was that Rocky Badelli he struck out then the game? Yeah, I think it was. Struck him out, ending the game, thus clinching the Phillies' second ever World Series championship. So, congratulations to everybody who remembers where they were that night. Go back in time with me. And of course, as we're sitting here now watching the World Series of this year kind of unfold and wondering, when again, and obviously coming off of what happened to the Phillies this season, I guess does it lessen the blow? Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel more in tune with the Phillies? I mean, I don't know. But on this night in 2008, all was right in the world as the Phillies clinched their second ever World Series championship, beating the Tampa Bay Rays in Philadelphia, concluding an epic, very epic Game 5 that took about 3 days to get through. As the Phillies were World Series champions. And Al saying he's getting chills. Yes. It was a great night, Al. It was a great night. And that was your night in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the fine folks here over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. and all that we do for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, a great night. Man, that was a good night. That was a great night, man. As I said, it wasn't necessarily for me the most ideal place in the world to be, but hey, I at least had the opportunity to watch the game, and I can definitely say that I was present and conscious and in one piece while I was watching the game. So that'll definitely work for me. First World Championship in my lifetime, technically. Yeah, and I remember, I think it was last week when we did this show, Al. We celebrated one of my days in Philly sports history was the 80 World Series Championship, and I was 7. And I harkened back to memories of that night. My mother waking me up around 11:30, whatever time it was, telling me they did it, and dragging me up to Frankfurt and Cottman. And I'm just standing in a sea of these nut people going crazy. And not really I guess I kind of understood what it was, but what that moment did for me, I might not have been in the moment understanding, but it galvanized me as a sports fan moving forward in my life. So it was my second world championship in my life, and I know that I'm in a definitely a exclusive crowd of people that can say that they were alive and conscious and understanding what was happening for both of the Phillies world championships. And it's unfortunate that it's only been 2. And as we got ready to get this World Series kicked off, the Yankees were going for World Series number 28. I mean, I don't see how that's possible. Or more importantly, I don't see why it's not us. 27 World Championships in the bag, going for number 28 this year. Looks like they probably won't get the 28th, but still, sure beats 2. And but on this night, that number 2 felt really good, and that was your great moment here in Philly sports history on this night in 2008. So take it for what it is, I guess. So let's get right into this show. I guess we can jump on some Flyers talk. We can kind of continue the conversation. Flyers tonight, 2-0 winners over the Bruins out in Boston. Sam Ersson with the shutout. Flyers played a pretty good defensive game. Bruins helped them out a little bit tonight. Bruins weren't on their game. It was very obvious and evident. There was a lot of opportunities that the Bruins did not take advantage of, unforced. Like the Flyers really didn't push some of the tempo there. Bruins just didn't make the plays. But you know what? Hey, you take them as you can get them, and that's part of the game. You have to make plays when you have the opportunities. And as Flyers fans, we definitely know that. Offensively for the Flyers, again, this team is kind of just what they are. They're not a prolific goal-scoring team. They don't have prolific offense. Tyson Forrester getting the one lone goal of the game, on empty net goal of the game. Definitely a good sign for him, as he's been struggling since the first game where he had the first goal of the season. So seeing him get on the scorecard was really good. Seeing Sam Ersson play pretty well was probably the biggest takeaway I had from that game. Was obviously the play of Sam Ersson as we try to lock down the goaltending situation here and try to figure out what the goaltending situation is for this team, and not necessarily for this year, but for years to come. And obviously with Kovalsov now being part of on the roster, the Flyers are technically carrying 3 goalies, which I don't think they can sustain that. They're going to have to make a decision with somebody. I need an extra forward or an extra defenseman. I don't need 3 goalies on my active roster. I really don't. So they're going to have to make a decision there with Fedotov or Kovalsov. Now, does Kovalsov get to start on Halloween night against the Blues at home? Potentially. Do you try to ride a hot hand with Ersson? What's more important right now, wins or working out a goalie? So we'll wait and see how the Flyers handle that. But tonight was a great win for the team. On the night, as Sal kind of went over some of these stats, just kind of hit on these some of the stats that I'm not going to hit them all, but some of the stats that stood out for me in this game. The Flyers were outshot in the game 19-23. The shots on goal situation for this team has been also something that we're not used to around here. Over the last few seasons, the Flyers have been a shot maven team. They were averaging close to 30 shots a game last year. With tonight's 19 shots on net, Flyers are down to 26 shots a game this season, and that's low. It's low as hell. It's got to be up there near 30. And So that was definitely a stat that I pulled from this game, and that's been a problem all season, as I mentioned. The Flyers are just not generating enough offense. You combine the missed shots, you combine the giveaways, which we'll get into in a second because those numbers were still too high for me. It's kind of equated to lesser shots on net and lesser scoring opportunities. And with the team that's offensively deprived, as the Flyers are, you need to have multiple chances to score goals because you just don't have too many goal scorers. And if you have less shots on net, obviously you have less chances to score goals. Flyers were 0 for 2 on the power play tonight. That's actually been a rarity where they don't score a power play goal. Flyers have 8 power play goals on the season, playing much better on the power play. 28 more block shots. Flyers continue to set new types of standards when it comes to the art of the block shot in the National Hockey League. So far through 10 games, 179 block shots on the season for the Flyers, averaging about 18 a game, which is up there at the top of the league, and it's definitely a style that they play. And then, of course, the other stat that I want to get into, 14 more giveaways by the Flyers tonight. I don't know where this has gone off the rails for this team. Last season, the Flyers were a giveaway stingy. They did not give the puck away at all last season consistently. They finished among the league leaders in giveaways, only averaging 5.5 giveaways a game, 456 giveaways on the season last year total through 82 games. This year, through 10 games, the Flyers are quite the opposite. They've given the puck away 145 times so far through 10 games for over 14 a game. So for people that don't understand what a giveaway is, I can get into the technical definition of it. It's basically an unforced turnover. Okay, that's what it is. It's an unforced turnover. It's a turnover that you inflict upon yourself. You weren't checked off the puck. The puck wasn't taken from you. You gave the puck away. And the Flyers are doing it at a 14.5 times a game rate this year, where they only did it 5.5 times last season. So if they don't get that under control, if they don't figure out how to get that down, we're not going anywhere. And we're not going anywhere anyway, but we're really not going to go anywhere if the Flyers cannot get that giveaway thing under control. And it's been a real bugaboo since the first game of the season. They've been consistently up there in the near 20 a game total of giveaways. The other night, I think against Montreal, they had 22, which was their season high up to this point, but they've been consistently coming in at around 18, 19, 17 a game. And that's just, you can't win at this level of hockey when you give the puck away that many times a game. So that's not encouraging. What's very encouraging tonight for me was the play of Sam Ersson and the play of the much beleaguered Flyer defense. Losing Cam York for 2 weeks. The defense has not played well to start the season. A strength of ours last year was the young D-core. It has not been a strength this year. But tonight, players stepped up. Ristolainen played probably one of his best games ever as a Flyer, as a defender. I watched that and it was pretty good to see. Jamie Drysdale took a shot to the junk, which I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know what that feels like. Oh, yeah. But I was happy because initially, obviously with his injury history, I'm thinking, oh, no, it's a knee. It's a cracked rib, or it's a core injury again. And here we go. But thankfully, and I know it sounds weird for me to say this, he took a shot to the junk and actually returned a little bit later on. So I know it's going to hurt. I know it hurts. It's probably going to hurt a lot tomorrow, but thankfully, he was able to return to the game. But so the play of the defense, the play of the goalie was very, very, very encouraging. And the Flyers find themselves 2-0 winners. First time, 5 years in regulation, a win in Boston. So definitely something to hang your hat on as the Flyers look to kind of right the ship in 24-25. And I do want to comment on a couple of things I've been seeing a lot out there. Again, I want to say this with respect. I want to say this with my utmost sympathy and my utmost middle of the road, because you guys know me. I'm not very judgmental. I don't take hard lines on things. I'm very middle of the road. I'm very neutral when it comes to things. I listen to both sides of the story. I don't I don't die on hills. I don't. But I do want to address this nonsense again, respectfully. MattyB is trying to turn over a new leaf here. MattyB is taking for what he's been through, and he's turning over a new leaf here on his new network. He's becoming the sage. I want to be the mentor. I want to be looked upon by the underlings here at It's a Wrap as someone to emulate and someone to be like and someone to worship. Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, someone to worship. But I'm trying to be a more softer, more user-friendly MattyB. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to make me physically ill, but we're going to give it a chance. But there's been a lot of backlash on John Tortorella, a lot of calling for John Tortorella's head. And I find myself coming to the aid and the assistance of John Tortorella a lot lately because I feel as if when it comes to the Flyers case, the championship window couldn't be further away if it was further away. There's no championship window for this team right now. It's not like the Phillies. It's not like you got this bazillion-dollar roster that, well, maybe it is more like the Phillies than what people want to admit, but you got the Phillies with a bazillion-dollar roster and players that are supposed to be pedigree championship players that are not performing up to that level, but still, there's a certain expectation based on who's playing for them. You got the Eagles in the same kind of boat. Yeah, they got certain expectations for the, especially the offensive players. So there's different heights here. There's different baselines, right? The Flyers are a team that's mainly, 13 of their players are 25 or younger. They're one of the youngest teams in the NHL. They have no prolific paid players. They got no superstars, right? They got a couple superstars in the making potentially, and they got a couple very good players, but they're consistently a role player team. They got multiple role players. I mean, they don't have a true number one goalie. They don't have a true number one centerman. They got one half to a potential super duo with Michkov. So the expectations for the Flyers should not be the same for the Phillies or for the Eagles. They shouldn't be. And the reason why I've accepted that, and I know in the past I've not accepted it when it comes to the Phillies and the Eagles, especially the Eagles. I have not expected that. I have not accepted that line of thinking. And the reason why I'm doing it with the Flyers is two reasons. The negligent dealings of the general manager in Chuck Fletcher. We went over this last night. We went over it last week. I'll put it out there again. Let me open it up. It's in my notes. But under Chuck Fletcher's watch, these were the contracts that were given out. Scott Laughton's 8-year deal, or 7-year deal. Sanheim's 8-year deal. Farabee's 5-year deal. Couturier's 8-year deal. Risto's 8-year deal. And Deslauriers's 4-year deal. Now, all these contracts carried with them at a minimum of about a $4 million AAV. Now, out of all those contracts, to be honest with you, there's not one of those players, to include the captain, that I would not be bat an eyelash if I woke up tomorrow and they were gone. Not one. Not one of them would I shed a tear for. So in the issuing out of these bad contracts, and it wasn't like at the time I personally was sitting here saying, yeah, you know what? I can see why they're giving Scott Laughton in this contract. I can see why they're giving a bottom six forward who scores maybe 14 contract. You know what? Am I back? Am I here? All right, I'm here, right? I did not say that about any of those contracts. So there were some bad contracts given out to the Flyers. Some terrible contracts. And the Flyers had finally, they hit a tipping point where they got rid of the management team. They got rid of Fletcher. They got rid of Dave Scott. They got rid of all the people that essentially created this problem. And they were active about it. And they were honest about it. We've made some bad moves. We're rebuilding. The Eagles have made some bad moves and have not been honest about it, and they have not done the necessary steps of trying to get rid of the people that were involved in making those moves. They just continue to roll out the product every year. Same thing with the Phillies. The Phillies are failing to accept the fact that some of these contracts were the wrong contracts. Some of these players are here maybe they shouldn't be here. But they keep rolling it out. The Flyers at least had some honesty about it and said, you know what? It ain't working, so we're going to blow it up and we're going to start it over. So that's why I give the Flyers a pass. Now, that pass has a shelf life, yes. There needs to be some progress. And last season was progress, but was it fool's gold? Was that progress from last season fool's gold? And are what we're seeing of the Flyers through 10 games this year kind of what they were last year, and maybe they had a few pucks bounce their way? Maybe with the starting goalie situation with Carter Hart, even though I was never a Carter Hart guy, he was obviously a established starter in this league. Maybe that was what was putting them or keeping them above water. And then, of course, Sean Walker, who apparently was the glue that held it all together, with his presence here. Were those factors in play keeping this team, operating well above their depth? And now with them gone and everything the way it is now, are they playing like the true team that they were last year? And if that's the case, which is looking like that's the case, we're 1 year and 10 games. We're 92 games into this rebuild. And it's going to take time. And I truly believe, because I truly believe that the coach, John Tortorella, knew what he was getting into. John Tortorella knew what he was getting into when Fletcher hired him. He knew he was coming here. Fletcher wasn't honest with us, but I'm sure he was honest with the coach. And the coach was going to be honest with Fletcher because he can see what the team was then. He knew what he was stepping into. And now with it all being out there and everything on the table, Tortorella still decided to stick around. He didn't have to. This is a guy that's been in the Stanley Cup Finals. This is a guy that's been to the the Olympics, the World Cup of Hockey. I mean, he's played and competed and coached at very high levels of this sport. He doesn't have to be mucking around with the Flyers, man. He's an older guy, too. He's got enough money to retire. So John Tortorella took this on. And he's got a reputation, good and bad, of how he develops and coaches players. And he's a reputable NHL coach. And he took on the responsibility to coach this team. So firing John Tortorella is going to do absolutely nothing to change the course of direction of the Flyers. Absolutely nothing. They're still what they are, with Tortorella or without him. What Tortorella provides them, in my opinion, is an opportunity to quickly move along this way and try to get back to being a good team a little bit faster. Because what I've seen from Tortorella, and you can't deny what you've seen on the positive sides of how this team plays, based on how they used to play under AV or Hackstall. They don't die anymore in games. They don't. They may go into lulls where they don't play well for stretches of games, but they always seem to find some spark at the end, and they kind of push back. The blocked shots is the number one stat that tells me that this team is still bought into what John Tortorella is talking about. They're still putting themselves in harm's way by jumping in front of 90-mile-an-hour slap shots every night, supporting their coach. So to fire John Tortorella is some of the most ridiculous sentiments I've ever heard. Because no one can, when I push back and say, who would you bring in here to replace him? It's crickets. Because the people making these comments don't know what the freak they're talking about. They don't understand what it takes to do what John Tortorella is trying to do with a hockey team. Hockey's not football, right? You don't draft every year in hockey and expect 7 players to immediately step onto your roster the following season and be contributors. Football, you do. Football, you expect at least 5 of those 7 draft picks, if you only have 1 per round, to be immediate contributors. Hockey, that's not the case. You'd be lucky if 1 does it. Right? It's not the same sport. It's not the same turnaround. Football's got a lot higher, cap issues. The Flyers mismanage the cap. They got $13 million to play with next year. They're not rebuilding this team through free agency anytime soon. Maybe not for another 3 years. It'll be about 3 years with the current roster without moving off of some of the players they have right now. It'll be about 3 years before the Flyers can be real players in free agency. Everyone's expecting it to be this coming summer. It's not. Right now, the Flyers have the 22nd most cap room in the NHL in 2025-26. Look it up. So they're not going to have much cap room to play with next summer either. So they can't rebuild that way. So that leaves two ways. Trading off the assets they have here, whether it's players or draft capital, or tanking and trying to get a higher draft pick in next season. Horrible for Higgins, right? That's the new thing we're going with here on the network. Horrible for James Higgins, the consensus number 1 pick in this summer's draft coming up. That's the only way you're going to do it. And in drafting players, as I said, in hockey, it's a much more prolonged situation. It's a much more prolonged process. They take a while to come through the system. Some of them don't work out at all. Some of them are 17, 18 years old when you draft them. It takes time. So the Flyers are in a position because of mismanagement and negligence. Yes, they're there. And I'm not doubting that. And trust me, I don't think I ever once waved the flag for Chuck Fletcher and said, you know what, you're doing a great job when it was all burning down around us. But there's no need in rehashing that because it's done. We're there. And now we're trying to dig ourselves out of it. So for Flyers fans, and I'm not going to take a neutral stance on this, for Flyers fans to be pissed off about the way the team is playing and to think that they have expectations to get into a Stanley Cup situation this year is probably some of the most foolish stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. They are not a Stanley Cup contender. They're not a playoff contender. They are a fringe playoff team. And is that where you want them to be at this point? Or do you want them to be a little bit worse for a little bit better in the future? So I don't look at Flyers games. Well, I try not to. I sometimes get caught up in it. But I try not to look at Flyers games as a win-loss situation. I look at Flyers games as a development tool and a developmental situation. And that's why tonight, my biggest takeaway from that game was Sam Ersson. Now, it's not a reach to say that because he played an outstanding game and he pitched a shutout. So I'm obviously going to give Ersson his due. But it's about development for me. It's about development every night, watching these players kind of figure themselves out. With Cam York down, Emil Andre's back. So now there's another opportunity for another young player to step into the breach and see what he can do with some sustained time. Development. Kovalsov getting the call up. We talked about the drama surrounding him. Why did the Flyers sign him last September? Why did the Flyers sign him to his ELC when we had a set goaltending situation with Carter Hart and Ersson? There was no need to sign Kovalsov last September. Could have let him sit over in the KHL. No need to get him under contract, but they did. Why? Theory floating around out there that the Flyers obviously had an inside track on what was about to happen to Carter Hart. Maybe he had some insider trader knowledge, right? That things were about to go down. And they were trying to safety net themselves for a goalie, potentially to have a goalie at the end of the season when they might need one. Now, what promises were made of Kovalsov back in September of 2023 when he signed that ELC? Did the Flyers tell him, listen, this is X, Y, and Z? That's why we're signing you. And this is ABC, what's going to happen if you get a chance to play. In other words, did they promise him that they were going to bring him to the NHL if these things happen this year? We don't know. But when stuff did happen with Carter Hart, and they did bring Kovalsov over at the end of the KHL season last year, and then they immediately assigned him to Lehigh Valley without I don't think he even got to the city of Philadelphia. Went right to Allentown. Never saw the Flyers at all. Played in a handful of games for the Phantoms, a couple playoff games. Did okay. 2.83 goals against average, I think, in 7 games. But reports where he was homesick or he was upset or he just wasn't feeling the guys. Just wasn't wanting to get involved with what was happening with the team. Didn't spend any time with the team off the ice. Was that because he felt slighted because what am I doing in the AHL when I was told I was going to the NHL? Or was that because he really missed home? Now, if you're Big Al, who sighs on the, the homesick stuff, because he pretty much blamed the Phillies' struggles in June because they were in London and missing their mommies. So I guess there's a pocket of fans out there that actually believe that nonsense, that a grown man will miss their parents. But okay, I guess I'll go with that. I don't think so. I think the opportunity that he was looking, that he thought he was getting when he was brought back here last spring, or brought here last spring, was to play in the NHL level. And when that didn't manifest, he got pissed. Right? Again, was he told something? Was he guaranteed something? I don't know. But he got pissed and said, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm going back to Belarus, wherever the hell he's from, behind the Iron Curtain. And I'm not coming back. And you guys can shove it up your ass. I'm done. Some compromises were made. Some further negotiations were had. And then boom, at the end of camp, he shows back up, back with the Phantoms. And now he has this opportunity to play with the Flyers. So there's some drama around that. But the bottom line was his performance the other night was pretty good, in my opinion. Again, a developmental process. So it's what it's about for me. It's about developing players. It's about seeing what these players have. It's about finally getting to a chance to see some of these younger players play. And now with the situation with Cam York, now we have Emil Andre who has that opportunity. Now, when Cam York returns, obviously someone's got to go back down. Does Emil Andre have a chance to seize that opportunity right now? He does. Hopefully he does, and we can send Igor Zamula down. I don't think he's going to work out, but that's what it's all about for me, man. It's about tryouts, I guess. And I'm sorry. If you're a Flyers fan out there and you don't see that, and if you're a Flyers fan out there who thinks that they should be competing for a Stanley Cup this year, then you're going to be in for a very long, frustrating season. But if you see it through the eyes of what's really happening, if you see what the end state of all this is supposed to be, you might be able to enjoy some of the season. You might be able to enjoy the maturation process of Mitchkov, and the maturation process of some of our younger defensemen, Drysdale, Andre, Cam York continues to grow. And if you're also a Flyers fan, you'll stop falling in love with the players, because in order to expedite, if we are to expedite this process, because as I said, this all has a shelf life too. Eventually you got to start winning, or we got to move off the plan and pivot to another plan. So we're year 3 into this thing. If the Flyers, I'm not buying the whole they're trying to figure out these players and see what these players have anymore. John Tortorella knows what these players are by this point. Now it's time to make hard decisions about so-and-so's future with the team. And I'm going to go with 2 players right off the bat that I want to see moved at some point this year. Joel Farabee and Scott Lautner. They could both pull back in some quality return. But it's a contract situation. Farabee's getting paid $5 million a year. That's right. He gets paid $5 million a year to produce nothing offensively. So an opportunity to try to move off of Farabee, who takes that contract? Lautner probably has a better opportunity. I believe he's a free agent at the end of next season. You could probably move off of him a lot easier. But some hard decisions are going to have to be made this season about some players. Hard decisions about some players' futures in this rebuild. And I want to see that being made, especially at the trade deadline. If the Flyers are out of this thing completely, and even if they are in it, they're in it, maybe not so much. But if they're out of it, I want them to be selling a lot of assets. They got to be. They got to trade some people. They got to try to get better. So that was my hard line tonight, was for Flyers fans who are expecting and are frustrated that the team is not winning and that they may not win a cup this year. You need to open your eyes a little bit wider and see the big picture, because it is going to be a long season for you if that's what you're waiting for. So there you have my that was my Flyers take, but a good win tonight, 2-0 over the Boston Bruins. And let's go around the NHL right now real quick, kind of update you on some scores. Games that are still happening out there in San Jose at the end of the first period. It's 0-0 Kings Sharks. Games that are now final. Seattle beat the Canadiens tonight 8-2. Kraken put up 8 goals tonight against the Canadiens. It was 3-1 Ducks over the Islanders, 5-3 Wild over the Penguins, 8-1 Senators over the Blues, and 5-3 Rangers over the Caps over the Rangers, sorry. And the Flyers, of course, 2-0 winners over Boston tonight. And there's your look around the National Hockey League on this Wednesday or Tuesday night. Kind of a light night in the league. So let's now move off of the baseball or the hockey situation. And yes, let's talk some baseball. Let's do our World Series check-in. Is not looking good if you're a Dodger fan tonight. It looks like the Yankees are going to keep this going into another game. Game 5 is impending. It's 10-4 Yankees right now in the bottom of the 8th as they look to get back into the series. Are you back in the series when you're down 3-1? Or are you back in the series when you're down 3-0? When are you officially back in the series? When it's 3-3, 3-2? I don't think 3-1 gets you back in the series. 3-1 gets you a pulse. But the Yankees are looking to potentially move back into force the Game 5 tomorrow night as they're trying to keep this thing going. Trying to force their hand. Trying to force the Dodgers back to L.A. for a Game 6 and 7. But, of course, Freddie Freeman, the big story. A couple big stories out of this game tonight. 3 of them, actually. The Freddie Freeman 2-run homer, which is now his sixth consecutive World Series home run, dating back to 2021 in his time with the Braves. Volpe's grand slam tonight for the Yankees was the 6th grand slam in the 2024 MLB postseason, an MLB record. And New York Yankee fans tearing the glove off of the hand of Mookie Betts out there down the right field line, trying to deceive a foul ball. I mean, what are we doing here? What would happen if that happened in Philadelphia? Holy crap, right? If that happens in Philadelphia, forget about it, man. But it happens in New York, and I don't hear much more about it. Now, that might be the biggest dick move I've ever seen from a fan. Move over, Bart, man. You got new company here, man. Because that was terrible, man. Absolutely terrible fan behavior. Absolute terrible just etiquette. I mean, be a goddamn man. And they're paying big money to sit there in a World Series game. And that's how they're going to go out. They're going to go out like a bunch of punks. So, reason number 85 that I would never, ever, ever support any New York-based sports team. I've been to Yankee Stadium. It's a mausoleum. It's terrible. You got to be sitting in a certain point of that stadium to get a good look. It's a horrible stadium, horrible team, horrible fan base, horrible city, the Bronx. You know what? It's a shame that the Dodgers are probably not going to win this game tonight, and they're going to have to go to a Game 5. But I have every confidence in the world that the Dodgers will not be denied, and they will prevent the Yankees from winning their 28th World Series. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but let's go Dodgers, man. Let's win this thing. Let's send the Yankees home. Let's be done with the Yankees. I don't want to talk about the Yankees anymore. Don't even want to listen to the Yankees. I don't want to hear them talk. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to see that uniform, jersey, stupid ass NY crap. I don't want to see any of it, man. Pretty classless move tonight by the Yankee fans. Absolutely classless. But with that being said, I was excited because I thought when Freddie Freeman led off there in the first inning when he hit that homer, I'm like, okay, man, we got ourselves MLB free agency starting tomorrow, baby. That's right. But it looks like that's not going to be the case. MLB free agency starts, or I should say the legally tampering period with free agents begins 24 hours after the World Series ends. And then teams can actually start signing players 5 days later. So if it would have worked out tonight, tomorrow, the legally tampering period would begin. Now, they don't call it legally tampering. They don't call it tampering in MLB. They just call it negotiations. You can negotiate openly with players 24 hours after the World Series ends, and then start signing players 5 days after that period. So I was expecting and hoping to start talking about MLB free agency tomorrow, but it looks like I'm going to have to wait an extra day for that. But I have been watching the World Series, and I have been fixated on 2 players from the Yankees. I ain't going to lie. There's 3 players actually that have kind of piqued my interest. Gio Urshela, third baseman, plays for the Yankees. Alex Verdugo, their left fielder, and of course Juan Soto are the 3 prize free agents that I see coming on the block here. Hopefully, as I said, within 24 hours after the World Series ends. And all 3 of them would suit me fine wearing Phillies pinstripes. Now, Verdugo's not had a good World Series. It's been a terrible World Series. So has Urshela. And Soto hasn't really done that well either. But I would still take any one of those three over what we have here in the options that we have. Verdugo obviously settles our platoon situation in left field. Urshela gives us an actual major league third baseman, maybe not with the same kind of pop that Bohm has or potential pop that Bohm has, but I would go with Urshela in a heartbeat. And of course, Juan Soto is a game changer across the board. So my eyes on those three players throughout this free agency period. I'm interested to see what the Phillies would do with them. Of course, you got to throw in Lance Bregman from the Astros. He could potentially be a third baseman for you. But I'm not looking for a long-term option at third base through free agency. I'm looking at a short-term option, a bridge to Miller. A bridge to Miller time, basically, is what I'm looking for at third base for the Phillies. A 2-year contract to somebody, a stopgap kind of guy that can come in and just man down the position until Aiden Miller's ready in about 2 years. So that's why I'm looking at Urshela to be the new third baseman for the Phillies. I don't want to break the bank on a Lance Bregman when I got Aiden Miller in the wings. So I'm looking at those three players to help me out, help a brother out with that, and join the Phillies and be additions, and maybe we can be playing in late October next year. So it looks like the Yankees are going to force a Game 5. Congratulations. All right. I remind everybody, of course, the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Please like and subscribe us on all social media platforms and help us grow. Help us be a viable source of entertainment for you. As I said, I will not stop. I will not quit, nor will I ever surrender. I will be doing this to my dying day. And on Monday, November 4th, which is this Monday, we do have a new addition to the network. Our first other show, as I promo this as the first show not to feature me. That's right. Sal G will be debut the wraparound on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on Monday, November the 4th at 7 p.m. It'll be a weekly show on Mondays at 7, where Sal will wrap around the happenings in Philadelphia sports and sports in general, the week that was, so to speak. So make sure that you're tuned in on Monday at 7 p.m. for Sal G's debut here on the network and his regular spot. Now joining the network full-time as a weekly show. Hopefully that's the first show of many that not feature me. Because I'm on enough. Every night and then post games, I'm on enough. So welcome. Of course, looking forward to having Sal as a permanent part of this network. One last thing, and we're going to wrap it up tonight as it's getting late. Of course, this is my final segment of the night, and it's my favorite segment of the night, and it's MattyB's card review, where we take a baseball, sports card, basketball, hockey, whatever card out of my collection, and we just kind of talk about it. So let's key the music for the MattyB card review set.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, so that's it. That's the little cute little intro music for the MattyB Sports Card Review show or segment. And this how this is going to work is again, I need to probably post this bio somewhere, but I guess as we get deeper into this, I can stop saying it. But I've been an avid sports card collector pretty much my entire life. And just recently, this past summer, I was able to sit down and finally, for the first time ever, rightfully and correctly, well, at least in my mind, correctly, organize my sports cards into areas where I know what I have now. And I decided about last week we debuted it. And what I'm going to do is take a card a night and just kind of talk about it. Talk about some financial, worth that the card might have, some sentimental worth that the card might have, some memories that the card might elicit for me growing up or for other people out there, and what it was like when I got this card, or maybe if I remember how I pulled this card or how I acquired this card. That kind of thing. Just kind of talk about a hobby that's been a very, it's been very important to me, and it's been a very important hobby to a lot of people growing up. And so we do this every night. It's a nightly segment, and we just take a card out of my collection. Again, it's football, baseball, hockey, and basketball. It's four majors. I have all representation in all four majors. Obviously, it's more baseball, and that's for obvious reasons, but Tonight, we're not going to do baseball. Yeah, we're going to dwell outside the world of baseball tonight. We're going to go to football tonight. Tonight, we're going to focus in on a card from 2018 from a current player that's in the league right now. This is his rookie card, and it was something that that Panini did. It's the Panini card, by the way. It's a prestige card. They started this back, I think, in like 2012 or 13, where they started looking with high draft picks that were coming out of college or highly prospected players that were coming out. They would put out a pre-rookie card, so to speak. So before they even played in their rookie year, they would put out a card for their first season, and they would use their college stats sort of to back up the card, and they would call it their rookie card. So we're going to talk about tonight's card, and this is exactly what tonight's card is. It is the 2018 Panini Josh Allen Prestige card. Of course, he's not wearing, obviously you got the Buffalo Bills logo down there at the bottom, but he's in his Wyoming college football uniform because this card was put out with his college football stats in mind. On the back, it has all of his totals as an NCAA quarterback. This is number 234 out of that set that year. This is a base card, nothing flashy about it. But as you can see down here on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, it does have the rookie card shield, so it is considered Josh Allen's rookie card. Now, there's other Josh Allen rookie cards in 2018, but this is the prestige card. I looked this card up today. This is actually interesting because I found this card in two different ways. Again, all of my cards are raw, meaning they've never been graded by PSA or any other grading company, reputable grading company. So all these cards are raw. There's always a risk when you go and trade or buy or sell raw cards. But right now on a site that I use quite a bit, a PSA 9, not a 10, but a PSA 9. I couldn't find a PSA 10 in this card, but a PSA 9 mint is valued at about $170. So this card that I'm talking about right now, as a PSA 9 graded card, is valued at $170. Now, we talked about this too, and we'll talk about it a lot more. Sports card collecting, selling, buying, it's a seller's market, obviously, because when you get into auctioning, you get into these bidding wars. A card that maybe costs market value on average of about $20 could end up selling for $200, depending on how much somebody wants a card. But to start here with Josh Allen, who, is he one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL today? Yes. But obviously with each year that he doesn't get higher or doesn't get it done in Buffalo, that starts to fall. So the question with a lot of people that are involved in the selling aspect of this, when is it time to start moving off of Josh Allen cards? When is it time to start thinking, okay, maybe he's gotten to his peak and maybe it's time to move off of them? Because you got to look at it like the stock market. Players' worth and their values of their cards go up and down based off their performances on the field. Freddie Freeman, I meant to look this up prior to going on. I'll probably look it up tomorrow because I may even feature a Freddie Freeman card on our next show. What is Freddie Freeman's cards trending at right now based on what he's been doing in the World Series? And especially if he ends up winning the World Series MVP. What does that do to his sports cards, regardless of rookie year or not? So all these things affect a card's value and whatsoever. So right now, the Josh Allen, this prestige card, 2018 Panini is valued at, I found it for $170. And here's the card in its physical form. Here's my actual card of that, holding it in my hand. Again, it's raw, but as I look at this card, the edges are pristine. There's no issues with the edges. There's no crease problems with this card. The centering is immaculate. I don't know if it's a 10, but I guarantee you this card is at least a PSA 9. So I would probably, if I sent this in to get graded, it would grade out as a PSA 9. So it would be worth, on average, at about $170. So, but this is a card that I keep an eye. There's a certain pool of cards that I have that I keep eyes on because of the flexibility or the fluxation of these players and how their values are rising and falling. Jalen Hurts' card was one of the hottest cards coming out of the 2022 season, off the Super Bowl year, a potential MVP type year. As of right now, Jalen Hurts' cards are pretty baseline. They flatlined pretty hard after what happened last year and how this season started for him. But of course, we're still moving through this season. So you got to kind of take a look at things like that. Shohei Ohtani, of course, anything Ohtani right now is hot because of what he did during the regular season. And of course, if he wins a World Series, it gets even hotter. And if he does something in the World Series, it gets even hotter. So there you have MattyB's card review tonight. The 2018 Prestige Josh Allen Panini rookie card, number 234 out of that set. One of many rookie cards that he had that year in 2018. But this is the Prestige one with him featured in his Wyoming college uniform and all his NCAA stats. So there you have the Josh Allen card on MattyB's card review segment of the night. And that, folks, takes me to the end of our Soap Night show. That's right. Happy Soap Night to all you people out there. And especially for those of you who know what the hell I'm talking about. Because this is the eve before Halloween Eve, which as a kid back in Northeast Philly, we referred to it as Soap Night, where we would go out with bars of soap and just soap up windows. Houses, cars, wherever you had a window, it's getting soaped up. We would soap up your concrete in front of your house, whatever. We're soaping fools. But I hope you enjoy your soap night. I hope you enjoyed your soap night. I hope you enjoy your mischief night. I will be back tomorrow for mischief night, and we'll talk then. So until we talk again, enjoy the rest of your night and have an even better tomorrow.
Party time!